Tonight's species is an offshore favorite. They can be found both in the Gulf and the Atlantic. What Brie and I love about them is how they jump, and they can be sight fished for at times. Tonight, it's all about the sailfish here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to week 2 of the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, along with our first studio audience in quite some time joining us in some sailfish talk this week, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. You know, the one thing that you and I have shared quite often, whether it was in CASA VIEJA Lodge in Guatemala or fishing right here in the Florida Keys, is catching sailfish. And I think we both agree that no matter whether you're kite fishing or whether you're fishing on the troll, it's just so fun to see them come up behind the baits and really engage in what we love, and that is to be able to see a fish bite something.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it. All right, well, Rick, in addition to our CCA Star Winner's Circle we have here today, we also have guests from ALTA Equipment and CCA Star joining us later on. And, of course, our weekly dose of Dave over at the CCA Workbench. Dave.
Get a dose of Dave.
Dose of Dave.
Yeah, I don't know if that sounds good or not.
No, it's good. We love you here.
Yeah, well, we're talking about sailfish, so we should have a good time with it.
Good.
Yep.
I'm sure you've got some
trolling.
tips.
He's got some cool stuff really set up there, Brie. I like what I see.
He's not trying to give away the secret
No,
yet.
he's
No.
secret.
All right, well, the sails aren't going to catch themselves, so let's start out in the FISHBITES East region, where they can be found all along the color changes in southern Palm Beach County. Ain't that right, Holiday?
That's true, Brie. You know, the main body of sailfish are pushed into Dade and Broward counties. That's sort of the winter population, but there's still a pretty good sailfish bite going on in my region. The best stuff has taken place in southern Palm Beach County, from like Sloan's Curve all the way down to Boynton Inlet, but you can catch them all the way up to Vero Beach. You want to target the fish along the rips and color changes in 90 to 160 feet of water, or along the wrecks that are holding bait. With this southeast wind, there's been a lot of thread fins and pilchards on top. So if you see a bait school, just pull up to that school, work the edges of the school, try and use the same baits that are in the school, and you should do pretty well. If you want to cover a lot of water, you can troll ballyhoo or bonita strips, put them on a blue and white or a pink skirt. The majority of anglers that are specifically targeting sailfish in my region are using thread fins, pilchards, or goggle eyes, and they're either slow trolling them or power drifting them using kites. You want to deploy those baits on a 60-pound fluorocarbon leader, a 7/0 trocar circle hook, and right now the average sailfish in my region is like 30 to 40 pounds. I have a photo. That's Kevin and Allison. They teamed up with Captain Charlie Stube out of Jupiter. They caught that sailfish in 150 feet of water off the Juneau Pier, and that fish ate a live goggle eye. I like about the picture, they're keeping that fish wet. You want to try and keep them in the water, even for the photos, guys. The other bite going on, you know, April has historically been a month for big dolphin. And while we haven't seen any of those 40 or 50 pounders yet, we are starting to see a pretty good number of those 20 to 30 pound fish that can really make your day. The bite has been sort of all over the place. A lot of the larger fish are coming out of deeper water, like 300 to 1,000 feet of water or more, and are just being randomly encountered under birds or just free swimming along the surface. There's also been good school-sized schoolies, along the weed lines and floating debris. You control rig ballyhoo, you control swimming mullet, squid, put them on a green colored skirt if you want to cover a lot of water. You can slow troll or drift with live baits just to kind of get them out on the weed lines. This time of year, you want to keep a pitch bait ready to throw to any fish that swim by within casting range, and be ready to chase any fish you see up feeding on the surface. A lot of times you're trolling and they just blow by the boat. If you can turn around, grab a bait, drive up to them, throw a bait at them, you can catch those fish. Average dolphin has been 10 to 20 pounds, but the biggest fish this week I heard of so far is 34 pounds.
Let's move inshore, Hollywood.
Well, there's a really good pusher mullet coming out of the canals in the Indian River and all along the Intercoastal Waterway. That's got the larger snook chewing along the seawalls around Hope Sound and around Lake Worth. At the same time, the Loxahatchee and the St. Lucie rivers are seeing big fish push out of the backcountry where they can be targeted on the seawalls and bridges as they post up to feed. You want to start your day working the seawalls and shoreline points, throwing topwater plugs or saltwater assassin dye dappers in the mullet colors. And then as the sun gets up, you can pitch a live mullet up on the seawalls or work live pilchards along the docks. At night, a shrimp and jig combination is money in the Fort Pierce Inlet. And if it's a windy night, chartreuse flarehawk will get the overslop bite on the big snook around the bridges. The average snook is 5 to 15 pounds. I got a photo of a just over the slot fish. That's Bob Gomlicker with a nice fish he caught. He caught that on seawall in the St. Lucie River, and that fish ate a live mullet. The other bite we got inshore, we're seeing the first of the big trout bite in the Indian River. The bite's been from Middle Cove all the way up to the Wabasso Causeway. The key is to get an early start, work the edges of the mullet schools, work the shorelines and submerged sandbars. There's also been a decent bite of the smaller fish around the Spoil Islands between Fort Pierce and Vero Beach. Start your day throwing a golden brim or a molting colored saltwater assassin salty snack or a topwater prop bait. Either of those will get that bite. That'll get the big fish bite as well. Pitch your lures up shallow, work them out deeper. As the day goes on, you can work the deeper holes in the flats and around the islands with live pilchards or pinfish or live shrimp. Put them under a saltwater assassin quick cork just to keep from getting in the grass. The average trout right now is 1 to 4 pounds, but we're catching them up to 9 pounds in my region. So the big trout are here.
So Hollywood, as you know, we got some cooler weather coming. Why don't you give us a bass report?
Man, you know, it's crazy. We've been talking a lot about the topwater bite and saltwater, but it's a topwater bite and the frog bite that's going on in Headwaters Lake in Fellsmere that has the bass anglers fired up right now. I was talking to Nathan Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He said to work the edges of the floating hydrillomats with a popper or a prop bait, or fire a green pumpkin or bullfrog colored bass assassin logger toad way up into the grass and reel it out slowly, pause it in over the open potholes. That's when you're gonna get those explosive blow ups. That bite's been going on all day. In the middle of the day when it's been real hot, a lot of anglers are switching over to fishing 8-inch June bug colored worms. They're rigging them Carolina style or Senko style and working the deeper areas on the edges of the hydrillomats, letting it just sink down. If big numbers are your game, you can go to live shiners under cork or balloon. Right now, it's a 30 to 80 fish day on Headwaters with a lot of 4, 5, and 6 pound fish and bass up to 11 pounds. Headwaters is really one of the top lakes in the country right now.
Hollywood, way to get us started here, week 2 of 2022, man. I really appreciate all your effort, very thorough, and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says that inshore, the pompano and the surf off of South Hutchinson Island, fish bites easy fleas, sand fleas, or shrimp on a triple hook pompano rig for bait. And then offshore, cobia swimming with the sharks on the sand pile off of Stewart. The dawn bite with thread fins, pilchards, and green and white R&R pilchard jigs is gonna work for those cobes.
All right, Rick. Well, the real legend Central East region isn't quite known for its sailfish bite, but it has been known to happen. Please explain the situation, Cap.
Oh, sure thing. You know, the thing about sailfish is it's not something that anglers typically target while they're out on charters in the Central East region, unlike the guys in South Florida who do a lot of specifically targeting of those particular fish. But up here, if you want to target them, naked or chin-weighted bally are the most common way to find them. And, you know, I was talking with Jesse Torrey. He caught one on the charter boat the other day, the Waterproof out of Ponce Inlet, pulling a blue and white islander over the top of one. So the typical trolling things that you do for dolphin and for kingfish and for sailfish and for tuna will work, but we don't specifically target them up here. But here's something really interesting about our fish. Most of them are caught outside the 150-foot zone, and we're coming up into the best time of the year to catch them, so that's a really good thing to know. April through June is when we get most of our fish. Here's another thing that's really cool. So last fall, I was sail fishing with my wife aboard the 64-foot Viking Starbright out of Everglades down in your neck of the woods. And we caught a fish that was tagged on the Thomas Flyer on 10/16/20. So October 16th of 2020, Jimbo and the guys on Jimbo's boat tagged this fish. My wife, Robin, landed that fish almost 1 year later on 11/22/21, and the fish was within a mile of where it was actually tagged. And in checking out, when you tag fish and you get these recapture data, it's amazing how many of these species will come back year and year and year again, just like we see our redfish do and our snook do. But sailfish out in the ocean do the exact same thing. And so really cool stuff. When Jimbo tagged the fish, it was about 35 pounds. When my wife caught it off of Sunny Isles, it was about 50 pounds. So it grew pretty good in that year's time. The other species that we have is cobia. And Rick, and I like to catch my cobia. You like to catch your cobia. Cobia are here right now. However, they're not how we typically catch them. Over the last 4 to 5 years, manta rays have been the big way to catch them. You can find the manta rays, you find the cobia on the manta rays. This year, not the case. Lots of manta rays the last couple of weeks. They've started to kind of taper off now because the water temperature is warming a little bit and they're moving into Tommy's region. But we still have plenty of cobia holding on our 50 to 90 foot wrecks and reefs and live baits like pilchards, greenies, and sardines on a 1.5 ounce Upperman jig that R&R tackle makes is going to get those fish. Now, most of these fish are right in that 30 to 35 inch range. So you want to net them. Don't gaff them because some of them aren't quite legal yet. But some of them are going up into the 40 pound. And even some, we have one here at Canaveral here recently that was weighed in at over 50 pounds. So some pretty good fish still out there. You guys get out there and hit those reefs and wrecks and you will find them. Swinging inshore, speckled trout action is picking up. Got a great report from Vero Beach yesterday. Big 28-incher that Michael Falk landed down there using live pilchards. But the guys and gals that are fishing all through the region that are using finger mullet, shrimp, small croakers, or pilchards are doing really well, especially around Spoil Islands and sandy drop-offs from Vero all the way up to Grant. And then when you get a little north of there, those fish are holding around mangrove shorelines a little better than they are those bars and those Spoil Islands. Now, the other things that we're throwing at them right now, 5-inch saltwater sass and dye dappers, working really, really good, especially first thing in the morning. Those soft plastics in the Mama's 14K, Northern Minnow, Opening Night, and Gray Ghost colors are catching a lot of fish right now. And if you fish those fish, or fish for those fish in the 3 to 5 foot zones, anywhere throughout the region where there's calorpa on the bottom, or where if you can find a little bit of grass, that's where you're going to find them. And then my last species is a nice species called the flounder. And we don't really get many flounder in this time of the year most years. Most years, it's in October, November, December, even January timeframe. But I tell you what, Captain Ron Hatcher got some nice ones out of Ponce Inlet this past weekend, and we've been landing some up in the Mosquito Lagoon that anywhere from 2 to 5 pounds. Now, you want to find areas of the flat that hold big schools of mullet, and if the mullet are milling around instead of cruising real fast, that's where you're going to find the flounder holding underneath them. I've got a picture here of Bill with a Mosquito Lagoon flounder that he caught on a saltwater assassin dye dapper the other day.
Great pictures this week, bud. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Central East region. He says inshore, Sebastian Inlet, nighttime redfish and snook action has been good for anglers using live mojaras, 5 to 6 inch saltwater assassin swim baits, and similar sized lip diving plugs. And then offshore, look for the cobias on the reefs and wrecks throughout the region. You can also find them following manta rays and a few miles outside of Ponce Inlet.
So I would say that tagged redfish that sailfish that Jim's wife caught is part of our family now.
Absolutely.
Went from Jimbo to Jim. That's pretty cool.
And my question is, he said he thinks that they travel and then they come back and return. Maybe that was a local yokel and he just stays all year round in that area. Because there are some resident fish that we catch throughout the whole season. We'll never know the answer to that, though.
We won't, but we do know he is family.
I don't speak sailfish.
All you gotta do
I
is
think
ask.
you do. I think you might. All right, get ready for the Yanmar ASB Florida Keys region coming to you next. And we're hitting up Dave for some sailfish catching know-how at the Academy of Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench. Dave, are you ready?
Yeah, but man, these lights are doing a number on my ballyhoos. Just trying them out pretty good.
Whoa.
So don't judge me on the
we won't.
condition of this poor guy.
We quit judging you a long
won't
time
judge you.
ago, Farrell.
Thank you.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. CASA VIEJA Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy, innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, Dave, we're here at the CCA workbench with
Yes,
the
sir.
Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Technique, and
Yep.
smelling a little fishy over here.
Well,
bud.
we got some ballyhoos out here because, you know, we talk about sail fishing, you know, every year, and Florida is one of the best places in the United States to catch them. They catch a few up in the Gulf around Texas and Louisiana, but mostly it's Florida. You know, it's a Florida thing. And in South Florida, everybody likes to use live baits. You know, it's a big live bait fishery from the Keys all the way up to around Fort Pierce.
Correct.
And then the reason for that is because the fish come pretty close to the shore there. We have, you know, the Gulf Stream is really close to the shore, and they have a nice edge there that all the fish can group up on. So you can put a boat out there, put some kites up, and float down that depth, you know, the 120 feet, 130 feet, or whatever. And the fish congregate on those depths, in those
Right.
areas, on those ridges and ledges and whatnot. Once you get up past Fort Pierce or out in the Gulf of Mexico, you got a lot. Yeah, you got a lot of land to cover, and to get the bites and to find them. So if you just sit in one spot and wait till you come across them, you're not going to get in them as fast as a guy who can be moving and then finding them. And you're not moving that fast. You know, you're probably moving between 4 and 6 knots, depending on your ballyhoos and whatnot. But you know, you can still catch plenty of sailfish if you're in the right place by trolling. You don't have to put out live baits. And here's some of the different ways we got here. This one here is a Sea Star, and I rigged this one on a wire rig. This is the rig that we all use up at the Cape Canaveral area because we have a lot of barracudas, we have a lot of kingfish, we have a lot of toothy critters. And if we try to troll mono around all day, we're going to end up losing a lot of rigs. This is a Sea Star, an Island Sea Star on just a pin rig,
Right.
you know, just a regular pin rig
Got it.
with a J hook in it.
Right.
And you know, you just troll this along at 7 knots. That Sea Star is a great one to put on the flat.
Oh, I was going to ask you that.
It runs on the flat. It'll run on an outrigger too, but I pull it on the flat a lot, and then sometimes I'll pull it with a double hook rig because it catches wahoos as well. But that's one of my favorite lures is the Sea Star from Island Lure. And like I said, you can pull them on wire. Sailfish will still eat something when it's on wire. Doesn't mean it won't. My favorite of all baits when I'm trolling is a naked ballyhoo with a circle hook in it. Now, this one, you know, has one of the really cool little swivels in the top that it's called a rigger swivel, and what it is, it's got a little rubber donut on one end that you just slide your hook through. Once you get this thing rigged up tight to the head of the ballyhoo and pulling from the front, which you always want all your baits to pull from directly from the front. If they're not pulling from up here, then they're pulling from back here somewhere, and that's what makes them do that spin. And we don't want any spinning. We want that bait to swim just like a regular fish, even though it's using his own camouflage. You know, when you're pulling a bait and he's swimming perfect, he's got his dark side on the top and his light side on the bottom, and that's using his perfect camouflage. So he's built that way to keep from being seen. And
So we have a loop in the end of our diamond leader.
Correct.
And then we're going to use a diamond swivel on our
right on your main
conventional
line.
rod. Yeah.
On your main line.
So
Even
then we just
conventional,
loop
sail,
in and
anything.
out.
Correct.
Oh,
well,
okay.
you just, you know, this has a snap. So you just
Right.
snap on there.
Right.
And yeah, and that keeps everything from, you know, spinning up on you and getting everything all messed up.
My
Now,
blindness can't see it.
I know, that's why I don't try to do it on camera because I can't see it.
Keep going, Dave.
Now, next we got, you know, this is one of my favorite lures. This is a chugger, a super chugger. It's a Moldcraft little mini chugger. But when you put this on the head, real down close, anytime you put any kind of lure in front of the bait, it actually helps the bait last longer. You know, especially if it's rough out, you put a nice skirt over it, or you know, something that covers it up, like one of these little chuggers, and it's curling along. It's getting beat up if it doesn't have something in front of it. This thing really puts a lot of a big profile out. This is actually a good marlin pitch.
Okay.
If you're fishing for sailfish and you got a lot of little tiny stuff out, and he doesn't want to eat it, you throw something out here with a big head on it that pushes a lot of water, it'll get their attention a lot of times, even when they won't eat the naked ones.
Right.
They'll run over and pound on this one because it's got that nice chugger out in front.
And then this one's for?
This is a tracker, and it's another island lure. That's a good lure for the outriggers. It's a good pitch as well. You know?
And then this is the way you would rig a lure in front of with a circle hook.
A circle hook. What you do is, this is what's underneath all that mess. You have a swivel with an 18-inch copper wire.
Right.
And what you do is you take out the eyeballs of the ballyhoo and wrap around his gills and through his eyes a few times until you have this swivel sitting right on the end of his beak, real up tight to his nose, which is what's underneath there. And then, you put this down on top, you get your hook in there,
right,
in the hole that you've made a big loop in your floss, or I use the Diamond 50,
right,
with the same thing. You put an overhand loop in there. Hold that hook there for me.
Hold it.
Yeah, just hold that hook. You put an overhand loop in it, and just cinch it down. And you can do another one if you'd like, but usually one will hold. And then your mono's on there, and your ballyhoo's out the bottom. And you have to let him eat this thing. It's a circle hook. You got to let him eat it. He swallows it. You count to 5, put the drag up, and keep winding until it comes tight. If it doesn't come tight, you wind it all the way up till he's up on the surface, and let him try again, because that circle hook hasn't hurt him. If he'll keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back.
That segment was tight.
Oh, well,
I'm telling you, good job, bub.
Super tight. Good job, gentlemen.
Yeah, about that.
Sailfishing 101, people. All right, let's head to the YANMAR ASV Keys region and check in with Sarah Stanzik on the Sailfish Sitch. Sailfish Sitch. Say that 5 times fast. We know you've got them, so tell us how to find them.
Hey, everyone. Reporting here from the YANMAR ASV Keys region. We do have lots of sailfish around. Our sailfish season here is winding down now, but there are still a few fish here and there. I even had reports those past few days of tailing sailfish, so that's fun to catch them when they're doing that. The best time of year to catch them, though, here in the Keys would be December through March. During those winter months, we tend to see the best numbers of sailfish coming through. Sailfish can either be really exciting to catch because they jump and fight hard, or they can swim you straight to the bottom and you won't see them until a long while later after you finally pull them up to the boat. Those hard-fighting deep swimmers always seem to get you during fishing tournaments. The majority of them stay shallow, though, and will put on a good air show for you. Medium to light tackle is all you need, too, which is nice for the size of the fish. You don't have to strap into a fighting chair or anything too intense. There are several ways of targeting and catching sailfish off the reefs locally. The captains will fly kites with live baits out and catch them that way. They will troll baits behind the boat, or they will look for showering bait and warbirds diving down. See a sailfish feeding and cast a bait at them. My favorite way, of course, is sight fishing. It is super exciting to see that bait shower and cast at a sailfish and have them eat your bait and take off. Having good live bait is key to success in catching sailfish. Ballyhoo, pilchards, goggle eyes, or threadfin herring are some sailfish favorites. Don't forget to take a good photo with your fish when you get it to the boat, but before you release it, make sure you move your boat forward and let the fish get some oxygen through its gills so it's good and lively. Check out this photo of a nice sailfish we caught on the Shallow Sport X3. It ate a live pilchard, and it was a hard fighter. It took 45 minutes to catch. My friend Jocelyn's first sailfish, she jumped in the water on the way home, of course, because it's bad luck not to take a plunge when you catch your first sail.
I think that's so awesome that you have a Texas manufactured boat in the Florida Keys catching sailfish. So awesome, Sarah. Good job. What else you got for us offshore?
Offshore, we have amberjacks, also known locally as reef donkeys. They're just spawning now in the springtime, which we're just getting into. They can be found on deeper wrecks and structure offshore, and they will completely whip you as an angler. One of the hardest fighting, most tough fish out there, if you ask me. A live grunt or small butterfly tuna bonita works well for bait, but they will also eat a vertical jig or other artificial baits. Heavy tackle setup is best, like a pin 50 wide with a 10-0 circle hook and a decent-sized sinker, depending on the current and how deep you are. If you're using jigs, a big spinning reel like the Penn Slammer with 65 to 80-pound braided line on a jigging rod is a fun way to catch amberjacks, but be ready because you will surely feel it the next day.
Moving inshore, what do you got?
We got snook inshore. They've been around and will start to show up more and more into the summer months. Pilchards have been easy to catch too and definitely seem to be their favorite bait. If it's colder though, during the winter they tend to prefer live shrimp, but filters are all over the place now. Send your cast net out, fill up your well, and you can target those snook easy. We use a 2-0 circle hook with a 1/4 ounce lead on a 2-foot, 30-pound leader. A Penn 3500 spin fisher reel is perfect for catching them in the backcountry. You'll know when they hit your bait. They have a good bite and are fun fish to fight. Many of them jump and shake their heads hard, so you'll feel it. And check out this photo of a huge monster snook caught right off a flamingo by Captain Richard.
There's a daddy-in-law. Good job, Sarah. All right. What else you got?
And jacks. There are lots of crevalle jacks inshore, and they are fun to catch. They will eat almost any kind of bait, dead or alive, so they are not a hard fish to target. As a matter of fact, you'll end up catching them whether you like it or not, most places you go. They're definitely known for fighting hard and will bend your rod over and scream some drag. An easy crowd pleaser and fun for beginners and kids. They are underrated, probably because they aren't that good to eat, but forget the dinner plate and just go catch and release them for fun, and you'll have a great day and plenty of action.
All right, well, thank you so much. Great report from the YANMAR ASV region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport hotspots. Sarah says that inshore tarpon, water's warming up, guys. More as we transition from the winter to the spring, and tarpon are starting to bite better. Use live crabs or mullet and look for the water movement. Offshore swordfish, there was some nice sized swords caught last week at 200-pound range. Drop your bait to the bottom between 15 and 1,800 foot depths. Try to keep your line vertical as your boat drifts with the offshore current.
I love that we have Sarah.
Yes.
That's so fun.
You saw her father-in-law holding the big snook.
He's
the guy who pioneered daytime sword fishing. That's Richard Stanzik from Bud Mares.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, we love having you, Sarah. And now we have a few tournaments in the Florida Keys to tell you about. The Robert James Sales Redbone at Large Sunrise Sunset Tarpon Tournament is set for April 8th through the 10th in Islamorada and features prizes for guided and unguided categories. And next up, and designed by local charter guides and tournament veterans, the Marathon Premier Sailfish Tournament is a fun sailfish competition set for April 21st through the 23rd. And with a grand prize up to $10,000 in cash is to go to the team catching the largest bull and cow dolphin fish combined at the Marathon Offshore Bull and Cow Tournament set for April 29th to May 1st. And last but not least, a fundraiser to help Habitat Middle Keys. The Mother's Day Dolphin Tournament is scheduled for May 6th and 7th in Marathon. For more information on Keys tournaments, head to flakeys.com. All right, waiting to set sail is the R&R Tackle Southeast and GARMIN Panhandle regions. Coming up next, plus we're welcoming back a special guest from CCA right here on the Florida Insider
Fishing Report.
Woo! We'll be back. Look at all the people.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And GARMIN, plot your paradise.
Now I want to welcome you back, and with me is Captain Lisa Fitzgerald from CCA Star and Scott Sebastian from ALTA Equipment Company. You know, Lisa, we've got some really exciting news when it comes to Star this year, so why don't we just get right into it?
Well, lots of winners here, and this year, one winner in the West Marine CCA Florida Star competition has the opportunity, and many thanks to you, Scott, and ALTA Equipment Company. I'm going to say it really loud because this is so exciting. And Rick, you can help me with this, Vanna. We will be awarding one winner who catches the only ALTA Super Star tagged redfish with a $50,000 check.
Wow.
So $50,000 will be awarded to one winner who is a CCA member and registered in the competition. And you know, thank you, Scott, because what this does is it allows us to have more participants, do more education, but it also allows us to do conservation initiatives, habitat restoration, restocking, and all the great advocacy work that CCA Florida does. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Lisa and Rick, and we're so proud to be able to participate in your brand and Rick's brand. And Rick, you know how important culture is to ALTA. And when we made this commitment to you 2 years ago, we said this just isn't about selling equipment, it's about giving back to the community and the angling community. We're heavily involved in construction throughout the state. You know our involvement in the C-43 Everglades Restoration Project. You introduced us to Brian Gorski with the CCA. We brought in our partners Trail King and to donate 2 flatbed trailers for the restocking of the redfish. And now through this partnership with Lisa and her group, we're so excited to be able to give back to this community, represent our brand, your brand, all these brands that are here with us. And Lisa, we could not be any prouder to partner with your group.
I'm so thrilled. And you know, everybody who's watching tonight, all these people in the audience are winners, just like you could be if you get registered in the West Marine CCA Florida Star competition, because that ALTA equipment tagged redfish, superstar redfish, is out there swimming somewhere in
So
this
where
summer.
do we go to find out about this? More information.
We'll go to altaequipment.com or
CCAFLSTAR.com, and either place you can find a great way to get registered in the competition.
Well, I'm glad you guys let me sit here on the boat and hold this daggum check. I mean, you didn't need me for any reason, did they, Brie?
Absolutely not. What a partnership.
Wow,
This is so
what a
great.
great job, guys.
Good luck catching that superstar fish. I love it. All right, if there's a place to catch some sail, the R&R Tackle Southeast region would be that place, and Captain Jimbo Thomas is our man. So Jimbo, let's hear it.
You got it, Brie, and hello to everybody in the studio there. Yes, we do have some of the best sail fishing in the world here in the Southeast region. Now, we do catch those sails throughout the year, but December through May, those are peak times to find sailfish. And the key to finding great sail fishing is looking for blue water and north current. And those conditions, they change every day. And fortunately, the last few days, the blue water and the north current's been working out well, and the fish have been biting. Now, the most effective way to target sails is with live herrings, goggle eyes, sardines, and pilchards. You want to fish them under a kite, anywhere on average from 80 to 250 feet of water, but we do catch them shallower and deeper as well. Then if you don't have enough wind for the kite, you can slow troll or drift those live baits. And then also trolling rig ballyhoo and mullet and medium-sized lures, that'll also get some sailfish bites. Now on the kite, I like to use Penn Fathom 40 lever drags, high-speed reels, and then for the flat lines, we use Penn 750 or 850 spin fishers, and we load those reels up with 20-pound test line, and we use 10 to 15 feet of 40 to 60-pound mono or fluorocarbon leaders and 6.0 to 7.0 circle hooks, depending on what size our bait is, and that's our standard sailfish setup. And then lately, sailfish bite's been good when the current's moving. In the last couple of days, it has. And on those days, the last couple of days, there's been some 8 and 10 fish days. And then on the slow current days, the bite's just been a little bit slower, and the bite in the last couple of days has been in the 100 to 200 foot range. Now I got a photo here. This is a sailfish that we caught. We put a tag in him. That's when he decided to come back to life, jumping on the leader there. Now, staying offshore, blackfin tuna bite's been picking up in depths anywhere from 120 to 250 feet of water. Best baits have been live pilchards and herrings. You want to fish those under the kite or on flat lines. And we're going down a little bit on our leaders, 30 to 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders and 4.0 to 6.0 circle hooks. Now, most of these blackfins have been in the 15 to 25-pound range in the last week, and they've been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning and then late into the afternoon from, say, 3 o'clock until sunset, that's been the best. If you get out there late in the day, that's where you got a great shot at catching some of these big blackfins. There's also been some of these blackfins caught on the troll. We've been trolling R&R tackle tuna feathers in anywhere from about 150 to 400 feet of water, but the larger fish are being caught on the live baits. And like always, if you can find some pilchards to chum with, that'll help get those tunas up on the surface. Now moving inshore, there's been some great tarpon fishing around the lip bridges and docks, and also in and around the inlets. If you're fishing around the bridges, look for those tarpon feeding around the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. And if you can find a color change or a rip, that's where those tarpon are going to be feeding. That's where you want to drift your live shrimp and other live baits through. Then around the inlets and off the beaches, live crabs and live shrimp have been the best baits. The water's real clear. You might want to scale down with some lighter leaders and smaller hooks. Now, all the fishing around the bridges and the inlets is taking place in the evenings, but during the daytime, some of these same fish, they're being caught in and around some of the deeper holes in the bays and also throughout the ICW, and they're eating live crabs and baits as well as swimming plugs and even flies. Now, in the same areas as the tarpon, there's also been quite a few snook being caught. Most of the snook bites have been on live baits, pinfish, herrings, and shrimp. Those are good choices, but any other good live bait should get the bites. And if you want to drift your live baits along the jetties and the ledges of the inlet using a Jupiter rig. Best fishing has been in the evenings and preferably on the outgoing tide if you're fishing in those inlets. If there's no live bait around, you can try bouncing R&R tackle flare hawk jigs along the bottom or trolling medium to deep diving swimming lures. And then around the bridges and lit docks, you want to drift your live baits or work artificials through those shadow lines on the outgoing tide.
Man, Jimbo, that was jam-packed. I appreciate it so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the southeast region. Jimbo says that inshore, big tarpon are eating live crabs and shrimp drifted through the inlets in the evening time. And then offshore, fish live baits in 100 to 300 feet of water has been producing a mixed bag of sailfish, kingfish, mahis, and blackfin tunas throughout the entire region.
Mixed bags are my favorite.
Mixed bag.
Oh, I just get so
You're
excited.
a mixed bag kind of girl, I can tell.
I guess so. Yep. In the GARMIN Panhandle region this time of year, you might get lucky with a sail hookup, but there are plenty of other species we can target this weekend. So let's hear what they are from Captain Pat Deneen.
Hey, Brie, unlike Jimbo's or, Southeast Florida region with pretty much a sailfish season, most of our sailfish are caught incidentally while targeting kings during the summer and fall. The exception to that is going to be in the fall when the sails and white marlin are around the 131 hole, the nipple, the elbow out there on that 100 fathom curve. And during that time, crews focus on targeting sailfish by trolling ballyhoo spreads, dredges, and teasers. Good conditions are going to be clean blue water and bait, either up on the surface or mid-water, so watch your bottom machines. And bait is also the key for consistently finding nearshore sailfish in the Panhandle. Pretty much the same places you would find kingfish, basically around bait schools, you could find sails. And pretty interesting is that quite a few of them are caught off the region's piers, right up along the shore. The piers hold vast quantities of bait during the summer, and it's not uncommon for sailfish to be in amongst them. And probably the best time to target and hope to find sails off the Panhandle is going to be that late summer, early fall time frame. And staying offshore, I've been seeing some really nice vermilion or mingo snapper catches this past week. I was talking to Captain Nick Price on the swoop out of Destin. He's been finding them really good numbers of them on natural bottom in 100 to 130 feet of water, fishing with 2-hook chicken rigs baited with either cut squid or minnows. But he does warn that the porpoises can definitely be a problem, especially if you're out there by the timber holes. And as well as there's an abundance of natural red snappers, just regular red snappers that you have to kind of wade through to get your vermilion. So if you can get away from the porpoises, and you have a good chance of a nice snapper catch. The vermilions are running 1 to 3 pounds. Occasionally, you'll run into those bigger bull mingo snappers up to 5 pounds. And then moving inshore, I mentioned last week the pompano fishing was good, and it's only gotten better. There's some really nice fish showing up along the beaches, not just the quantity of fish, but the quality of the fish as well. It's a really good grade of fish. Again, often the most productive way to catch them is using multiple surf rods, fish from sand spikes, use a pyramid or a similar sinker to hold the bottom, and a 2-hook chicken-style rig baited with either sand fleas or FISHBITES in sand flea or shrimp flavor, or a combination of both on the same hook. Look for spots where you have a good washout and clean water. The beaches off of Panama City and also Walton County have been very good. And there's a photo of Brittany McWaters with a really nice 4+ pound pompano she caught this past week.
Wow. That's a good one. Tell us about the redfish, Pat Tar.
Yeah, finally the redfish is really picking up in the Panhandle shallows. The grass and sandy spot bottom areas in Upper Escambia Bay, Santa Rosa Sound, Mid Choctawhatchee Bay, and the Panama City Bay systems. All of them are doing really well. You can fish shrimp under a cork, or cast gold spoons or soft plastics, either rigged with a worm hook or a light jig head. The small version of the Bass Assassin Boss Shiner with a gold flake is a great bait that gets lots of bites from redfish, but trout as well. So, you know, I'm really a fan of those soft plastic baits on the flats. The flash redfish are mostly slot fish with an occasional overslot. And there's another photo of Miss Debbie with a 26-inch redfish she caught in Santa Rosa Sound fishing with Lucky Chucky. She caught that fish with a shrimp under her cork, and Chuck's been catching redfish like that pretty much every day.
So Pat, what's your favorite thing to do this time of year? You know, you got weather that's coming through from Texas right on through into Florida and then pushes out to New York. What do you like to do with having all this adverse weather?
Man, Rick, if I got a nice light north breeze, and a lot of times after this adverse weather, we get that north wind, my favorite thing is to fish along the beach. You got redfish, you got pompanos, you got jack crevalles, you got maybe a cobia. You know, that's my favorite thing. You know, you never know if you're going to catch a small fish or a big fish, but you're pretty much going to catch some fish.
Well, that sounds like some good local advice, Bree. And you know what, Pat? Thank you so much. Good report this week. Appreciate the pictures. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says offshore, vermilion snappers on cut bait over natural bottom in 110 to 180 feet of water. And then inshore, Spanish mackerel by trolling, straw rigs, or casting spoons and jigs in St. Andrews Inlet along the beaches and the East Pass.
Along the beaches, you could be fishing next to Pat.
Yeah, man.
You know? All right, we're trolling into the ALTA Equipment Northeast region next, but first we're seeing what new products Dave has to show off at the CCA workbench. What you showing off over there?
Well, I got some Whoopah crawls from Bass Assassin and a bunch of other cool stuff from Diamond. So these are neat, aren't they? We're going to see a video. We're going to get to watch a video.
Whoopah, I said it. We'll be back.
That's what happened.
Whoopah.
Whoopah.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by ALTA Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Taco Marine new products. And Dave, you were talking about the teas going to commercial break about the Whoopah crawl by Bass Assassin.
I'm kind of getting used to that applause. I kind of like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
It's all about you, baby.
I know. Anyway, we're talking about the Whoopah crawl. They're really cool, brand new creature bait from Bass Assassin and Bang Lures. They're, evidently a crawdad. Supposed to look like a crustacean. It's got really nice taper to it. It's got a point at one end and a nice thick fat end at the other. So if you're using it to punch or something, it goes straight through.
Let's roll the video before you get into all the different rigs. Sorry, keep going.
No worries. Let's see.
Let me get that video rolling. There you go.
Yeah.
So there's one where it's a swimming.
Right. You can put a spoon underneath of it. You can put a vibrating jig on it. You can just do it weedless on the surface and have it as a surface bait. Any kind of punch jig, where it bounces, or just moving it through real quick with a vibrating jig. You can let them go down and then haul butt with a vibrating jig.
I love
search bait. You can use it for a search bait.
So you got it in a chatterbait rig. Then you got it on a what do they call that when the head is down?
Shaky head.
Shaky head down.
Yep, shaky head jig.
Claws laying up like a real deal.
Correct. Yeah, very good. And you can Texas rig it, or you can, I would like to do it weightless because I like to put them on top of the water and burn them through lily pads and that sort of thing. And you can also put them on a jig head and let them work on the bottom. So.
I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to be fishing.
Comes 7 in a pack, 10 colors. They got all really cool little appendages and little knobs and whatnot on there that move water and let the fish know that it's there, especially in dark water.
I'm gonna try to catch a snakehead on it.
Oh, that would be awesome. If you run it, if you run it like a frog, they'll think it's a frog. They'll crush that thing.
Okay, here we go.
Next, we got some Diamond Deluxe mono cutters. I'm telling you, any place, I used to be the editor of Marlin Magazine, so I got to go around to a lot of cool places. Everywhere in the world you go and get on a good marlin boat, sailfish boat, they're gonna have a pair of these on there, I swear. The Diamond Deluxe mono cutters, really sharp, ultra sharp serrated edges on them, stainless steel, Teflon coated stainless steel, so they'll take the salt for a long time if you take care of them. They can make really precise cuts with those blades. You can make angle cuts on mono, in case you're feeding it through the lure head or whatever.
Right.
And it'll cut braid as well. They don't say that they're good at braid, but it cuts braid like butter as well. So diamondfishing.com.
We got more diamond stuff.
We've got a lot.
Sticking towards
because we got the sailfish
theme. Yeah.
Correct. Those are the diamond rotary ball bearing swivel you got there. Every time if you're trolling, you need to have a snap swivel on the end of your main line before it gets to your bait, right before your leader. And you have to use a ball bearing swivel. Don't get a barrel swivel, because when you put any kind of pressure on a barrel swivel, it doesn't spin. It'll lock up on you. So you got to have a good ball bearing swivel, and it keeps all the spin out of your line. Also, we have a big giant dredge swivel. Now, when you're putting a big 6-arm dredge with, 50 mullets on it, you can put a lot of weighted mullet, and those things get heavy. That's a 1,000-pound swivel right there. So you don't have to worry about losing your $1,000 dredge.
And Diamond makes them from the smallest swivel right on up to these big giant dredge swivels. All right, what else? So, line in sail fishing is really important. Spinners, because it's a flat line. A lot of times it's got a live bait swimming. You want a line that's not so high vis. So what do you think about this green illusion, Dave?
Well, I like both. I'll tell you, I like the high vis and the low vis. Now, if I'm fishing for sailfish and I've got my lines way back there, I like to have high vis line, because I can see where the line's going, and especially once we're hooked up and the fish starts taking off, and I'm following the fish. I'm trying to stay in front of the fish. I can see it a lot better. But this stuff is really good. It doesn't matter about the color as much, but this stuff is really good for just about everything. You can troll with this as well. You can't see it as well as you can this, but this stuff is, both of it's copolymer line, extra smooth, 20 times more abrasion resistant than regular monofilament. I mean, that's good. That goes a long way. It doesn't stretch as much as regular monofilament, which, a lot of guys like a little bit of stretch. I don't like to use braid when I'm trolling. I use braid for everything other than trolling, because when you're trolling with braid, it'll catch on top of the water a lot of the times, and it'll skip. You can watch it skip. Mono will do it a little bit, but it doesn't do it as much, because the mono will absorb water and stretch. Even the copolymer, it'll stretch a little bit. And when it gets wet, it absorbs water, so it gets a little spongy on
I'm
it.
ashamed to say that I don't know, but I hope that they make this illusion in this color in 10 pound, because when it comes to bone fishing and permit fishing, I'm still using monofilament.
They do.
And I believe that this is really going to be camouflaged on the sand flats in the Bahamas or in the Florida Keys.
It comes from 8 to 30 pound test, because this is made for ultralight, light tackle fishing. 8 to 30 pound test in filler spools of 300 yards up to 1 pound spools, which can range from 2,000 yards of 30 to 8,000 yards of 8. In a 1 pound spool.
Dude, I don't know why you having any attacks over here. You did a great job. Tonight you're on fire. You were nervous because of all these people in here, and I want
wish
you to
that's
know,
what it was.
I got to make sure I bring more people in just to keep you fired up. Did he do a good job tonight, huh, Brie?
He did do a good job. It's all the beautiful people here joining us tonight.
Yes.
All right, Captain Tommy Derringer is always on top of things in the ALTA Equipment Northeast region, so let's see what he's got planned for the upcoming weekend. Hello, Tommy.
Hey, Brie. Hey, we're partying every weekend. Hey, take it easy on Dave in there, all right? I mean, be nice to Dave, all right?
I am being nice.
Guys, we have a great sailfish fishery here in the Northeast region, and this time of year, we get a good push of those sails coming from the south. And according to some of the offshore captains I talked to this week, the key to locating those sailfish is going to be finding the cleaner blue water. You could start just inside the ledge and then work your way on out to the Gulf Stream and even beyond that. Look for current edges, color changes, those typical things, as well as some flying fish. There's a lot of flying fish out there right now. Most guys are going to troll fairly slow in that 5 to 6 knot range. They're going to drag naked or skirted ballyhoo. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com, and he's always told me that the better or the more natural that your ballyhoo swims while you're trolling can mean a big, big difference in getting that sailfish to bite. And I'm sure Rick knows all about that. Now, as it heats up heading over the next couple of months, those sailfish, they're going to push in closer near shore along our reefs and wrecks. And every year there's a few good ones caught right at the 9 Mile Reef out of St. Augustine. And you can even find them in as close as a mile or two of the beach when that bait gets really thick. And there's even a few rare sails caught right along the beach throughout the region. You know, guys, one was even caught along the rip line at the Mayport Inlet last week. I think it was last week. Now, no matter how you do it, the sailfish, they're always fun to catch, and it's a staple for our Northeast region offshore anglers. And I've got a photo here. This is of our good friend, Erin Johnson. She sent me this picture of her very first sailfish that she caught offshore St. Augustine. Erin and her crew, they're awesome, and they're always on some really good fish. Way to go, Erin. Now, also offshore, guys, I spoke to Captain Jason Hedges again about the blackfin tuna bite. It's going off right now. Jason said there's some big blackfins out there. They're kind of hanging just inside that ledge. He's looking for temperature breaks again and those color changes, but said really the big thing is find a concentration of bait, flying fish especially, or really any kind of bait over some structure near that ledge, and you're gonna find some hungry tunas. You can drag dead baits or plugs, and don't be afraid to go as long as it's safe, even if it's a little rough out there, as those tunas tend to be a little less spooky, and they're gonna typically bite a little better when there's at least a little bit of a chop on the water. And I've got another photo here. Captain Jason from J-Hook Fishing Charters, he sent me this picture of Victor Gibran with a nice blackfin tuna that he caught just inside the ledge. Now moving inshore, guys, it's been a little tough inshore this week. We've had a hatch of cinder worms throughout the region. Now, if you don't know what those are, they're these little red and white stinking little worms that hatch. They seem like they come by the millions, but it only happens a couple times a year. Now, when they do show up, all of our inshore fish, they're gonna gorge themselves on those worms. Makes it a little tough to get a bite, but it's easing off. The bite was pretty good last couple of days. Now, that being said, the nighttime trout fishing has been really good for the last couple of weeks and should continue through the weekend. Find a dock light with some moving water. You're gonna find some hungry trout, along with probably some bluefish, ladyfish, and even the occasional redfish or snook. Now try to match the hatch, as they say, and toss a saltwater assassin paddle tail in the bloody white or neon mercury color, basically something with some red and white in it. Rig it on a light jig or a worm hook, drift it through the light. You can get into some really big numbers of fish doing that right now. Now also inshore, this is a great time of year to target black drum, both in the backcountry creeks and some of the deeper holes in the ICW or even along the beach. Those big 30 to 50, 60, 70 pound drum, they were spawning last week, and there's still a few of them around. Now for those big bruisers, you're gonna wanna use a halved or even a whole blue crab on the bottom with a 5 to 7/0 eagle claw circle hook. Now make sure, guys, when you're landing those big fish, take good care of them, make sure they swim away nice and healthy, because you know what, they're making babies and we could use all the drum that we can get. Now speaking of those smaller drum, they get thick in the creeks this time of year. A live or a dead shrimp on a jig head, bounce through a creek hole on the lower tide stage, that's gonna be a great way to target them. Another great bait is gonna be a fiddler crab or even a small piece of blue crab. Those are all great. The creek drum, they average about 2 to 5 pounds, but I thought I'd end my report with an absolute sea monster. I got a picture of Captain Rob Bennett from coastalfish.net sent me this picture of his clients, Doug, Dylan, and Andy, with a beast of a black drum that they caught off the beach in St.
three-person
Oh,
Augustine.
drum.
I'm just gonna end my report with this whopper.
Sea monster.
Three-person drum. How's your
That's
crew
awesome.
doing, Tommy? Speaking of a crew, how's your crew doing?
They're doing
Your
good, man.
football
They're doing
team.
really good.
All those
Of
girls.
Ladies
Yeah.
football team, here we go.
All right, bub. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much. Great report from the ALTA Equipment Northeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots. He says inshore, Trout on the dock lights throughout the region. Fish moving water with small red and white paddle tails. And then blackfin tunas offshore and sailfish are heating up just inside the ledge. Look for the schools of flying fish along the temperature breaks or those color changes, Brie.
That was crazy. So
Man,
funny.
all the dudes are just on fire.
They
Sarah's
are.
on fire. I want to go fishing.
Let's go.
All right, I need to go.
But first, you have to join Rick and Dave at FISHBITES Trading
Yes, you
Post
do.
in St. Augustine, April 23rd. There will be food, music, new product showcases, one-of-a-kind seminars from Rick and Dave. ¿Qué más? What else? Tell
Man,
me.
I can't wait to get up to St. Augustine. St.
Tell me.
Augustine, it's in downtown.
St.
St. Augustine is where the shop is. And I think maybe that's where I'm staying in the hotel. They put me up downtown.
Woo!
So,
Going
you know what? We're going to have some
downtown.
good food. We're going to have some great entertainment. They got live music and lots of deals, steals, and deals.
Steals and deals.
Plus, me and Dave will be there talking about cobias, talking about the new curly tail grub by FISHBITES, and we're going to also talk about all the different fish in the last 3 years that I've caught on FISHBITES all over the world.
And your favorite fish bites to eat?
My
'cause he
favorite
eats
fish
them.
bite is certainly
snack.
hemifis.
Oh gosh. All right, we're headed west to the STARTRON Central West and discover Crystal River Northwest region when we come back, so stay hooked and remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida. Make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel. What's it called?
Captain Rick Murphy.
Oh,
Come
right,
on.
I forgot. I'm sorry. See you soon. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by STARTRON. Start, run, and store with STARTRON. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And YANMAR ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
All right, we're back in the STARTRON Central West region. Always has something exciting happening, so let's see what this week holds with Captain Jeff Page. What's up, Jeff?
Well, I'm going to steal a line from Randy Towle. Good evening, fish fans.
All right.
You should take it over. Take it over, Jeff.
You know, we're definitely not in the sailfish capital of Florida by any means, but in the STARTRON Central West region. That being said, you can still get a number of sailfish, and right now through, you know, the end of tarpon fishing season is probably the best time. And what it is, Rick, is so many schools of thread fins are pushed in tight to the beach, anywhere from a half mile out to 7 miles. And those sailfish are migrating just like everybody else is. And if that bait schools are in there where, you know, holding on structure, they're going to pull in. And guys that might be flatlining groupers, snappers, or even kingfishing this time of year, they're going to score on the sailfish. A lot of times they're going to see them, or they're just going to have a flatline picked up or even a trolled lip plug. And a good thing to pay attention is, of course, your bottom. And then the other thing are the big schools of bait. And last year, Captain Justin Moore had 2 in a week fishing an area where he was kingfishing. So that's kind of how it plays out in the STARTRON region. And I've been getting better reports of more fish this spring down south than I have up north. But that being said, I've got a really good photo from down south of our good friend of the show, Kalen Olayer of the Flying Hawaiian Charters out of Stump Pass Marina, and there he is releasing a sailfish that he just caught.
Nice, Paige. All right, what else you got for me?
All right, and now right in, same theme, same kind of game, the kingfish, pretty much right on time, the kingfish have arrived. Everybody was complaining that they weren't here, and then we had that last big hard blow, and now they're catching them in as close as a mile off the beach. And I've heard, though, that pretty much 70, 80 feet of water is probably a good area to start. And again, look for structure. It can be hard bottom areas, it can be artificial reefs, where the threadies are holding up, where the small schools of glass minnows are holding up, and you're going to find the kings. A lot of times you'll see them free jumping. but pretty much it's a good idea to pull a few lip plugs around these bait schools or put out a few flat lines, put your Rodan spot lock on, and you're going to catch them. I got a report from Mike Mahoney in the north part of our region. He went out a little deeper than that, but there was quite a few groups of kingfish out there. And Dylan Hubbard also reported on one of his overnight trips, they got a bunch of kingfish and blackfin tunas mixed in. During the night, he said the daytime fishing was a lot slower. So pretty much a good idea to always have a flat line ready to pitch out while you're trolling plugs and vice versa. Great live bait is a big threadfin or a big pilchard. And I've got a really nice kingfish photo tonight. Captain Jason Stock and a happy client. Moving inshore, snook fishing. You know, Rick, I said it was good last week. It's even gotten better, and I believe it's a lot of this south wind has blown that water in the bays, and the fish are getting up on shorelines and oyster bars that they probably couldn't get up to comfortably before. And now we've got these big tides over 2 foot, and the snook fishing along the mangrove shorelines of Palmasola, Terracea, North Sarasota Bay, and then down south, even in Venice, around inside Snake Island and Donna Bay and Roberts Bay. Same thing. I'm getting good reports. And from the nighttime man, the mad snooker, Dave Parmalu, he's been having 40, 50 fish nights. Some of the fish up to 36, 37 inches. He likes using live silver mullet, live ladyfish, and then for the stuff I was talking about during the day, tough to beat a free line pilchard, but guys are catching them on cut ladyfish. And then I've been doing real well with throwing the small 3-inch gulp shrimp on a 16th-ounce jig head or a white saltwater assassin sea shad on an 8th-ounce jig head. The key to those light jig heads is that presentation's a lot quieter. Got a good photo tonight of Kylie Huffman, whose dad is good friend of the show, and Kylie's been on the show when she was a lot younger, Gary Tuna Breath Huffman, and that was caught in their backyard the other night right at sunset.
Wow, that's
Beautiful
a nice
picture.
fish, bud. All right, what else you got? One more to
Last
go.
fish, you know I had to throw in my speckled trout, and Rick, a lot of fish have moved in from the Gulf into the bay, and I believe it's because a lot of pilchards and glass minnows have moved in too. Find that clean green water over that broken bottom, say 4 to 5 feet, and you're going to catch some nice trout. Don't be surprised if you got Spanish mackerel, bluefish mixed in. I like using that Berkeley chrome pattern jaywalker in the 120 if it's a little choppy, or in the 100 if it's calm. Guys down south are doing real well on the edges of Bull and Turtle Bay, and they've been using live bait. Or another effective way is put that 3-inch white Berkeley gulp shrimp on like an 1/8 or 1/4-ounce jig head, about 2 or 3 feet under a popping cork. Throw it out there and pop that cork, and what happens, Rick?
Poppy down.
Poppy down. And my last photo is Captain Will Osborne of Cortez, Florida, with a nice Central West gator trout.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Great StarTron Central West report. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck hotspots. He says inshore nighttime snook fishing on the outgoing tide at New Pass, Long Boat Pass, and Anna Maria Pass has been real good also. Snook fishing with live silver mullet or ladyfish as bait has been working best. And then offshore, he says kingfish are finally starting to show up in as close as 50 feet of water and good numbers off of Venice north to St. Pete. Troll lip plugs or free line threads and big pilchards over that structure he talked about. You think we spend enough time around? I know what he's going to say, and he know what I'm going to say.
Oh, you guys
every
are
time.
Both friends. All right, just up the coast is Captain Jeff Hageman in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region, and he's ready to get us on the bite. So, Jeff, get us excited for the weekend.
Sailfish, we've got them just like Paige does down in his region. A lot of them caught as bycatch by king fishermen, trolling up or anchoring up, trolling for kings. In August, we get them a little bit more plentiful, and they're a whole lot more targetable. On the weed lines, when you get that slick, calm water days out there in August, you can find them finning, and you can actually come up, pull it up, drop the Rodan down, drive up to them, and pitch a bait to them and sight cast them. It's a fun way to do it. Just when you're running from spot to spot out there offshore, just keep your eyes out, look for those fins, look for that sail sticking up and those bills coming out of the water, and you can pull up on them and catch them. Another great way to catch them is look for flying fish. You get flying fish or any kind of flotsam floating around with a rudder fish under it. Birds working bait, is a great place to start looking. Staying offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports a great red grouper bite right now. It's been consistent in 100 to 120 feet of water. Bottom rig with 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 10 ounces of lead, 6 to 8 aught circle hook is working best. Threadfin herring and sardines tipped with squid has been a little tip he's been using to catch a little bit more fish. He said live bait is also working well. And I got a photo here from the Big Nasty with Adam Norman with a great fire truck.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us today, bub?
Moving inshore, Captain Jim Pollard of Big Daddy Sport Fishing out of South St. Pete has been targeting snook on the higher outgoing tides near creek mouths, oyster bars. His bait of choice has been pilchards, either tail hooked or nose hooked, with a 3/0 circle hook and 3 feet of fluorocarbon leader. He's using anywhere from 25 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader. And he's using a little bit of chum to get him feeding a little bit more aggressively. And when he sees those snook pop, he's taking a bait and keeping it next to the side of the boat and pitching it to him. So that's your guys out front fishing, see those pops, and you can make a sight cast to them. Moving up the coast a little bit, Captain Mike Manning of Action Fishing Charters out of Tarpon Springs reports a good snook bite from Ozona to the Cody River. He's fishing docks, creek mouths, mangrove points on the start of the outgoing tide. Live sardines again has been the bait of choice. Free line on a 3/0 circle hook and 25 pound fluorocarbon leader. I've got a couple great snook photos from both those guys. Tampa Bay snook caught aboard Big Daddy Sport Fishing Charters, and Captain Mike with another great snook aboard Action Fishing Charters. A couple nice fish.
Yes, sir. All right, tell us
Moving
about
my last one.
Yep.
Captain Gary Bartell out of Ozona Kiggies Marina out of Ozona reports a great trout bite during the bottom of the outgoing tide. He's fishing anywhere from St. Martin's River to the Chaskawiska Point, targeting rock bars in front of the creeks and rivers, looking for those mullet out there looping off the bars. Free line shrimp hooked through the tail has been his bait of choice, rigged on a 4/0 circle hook with 3 feet of 25 to 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. He's also using a saltwater assassin and the watermelon red sea shad on an 1/8 ounce jig head. And I've got a great photo of Dennis with a nice 23-inch Ozona trout caught with Captain Gary.
All right, man. Thank you. You covered the region quite well. Thank you so much, Hag. We're going to go and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the northwest region. Inshore, he said redfish from the middle to the top of the tide. Use cut pinfish, ladyfish for bait on a 4/0 circle hook, and then offshore. Hey, grunt, sea bass, hogfish on flat rocks off of Tarpon Springs at 45 to 55 feet of water. Use cut squid or pieces of shrimp on a chicken rig for bait. What do you think, Brie?
Well, anglers, coming up next, we're checking in with our CASA VIEJA Southwest region captain. So stay with us and we'll be right back with your report right here on the Florida Insider Fishing
Report.
Just checking on you.
Bree, that red looks good on you.
Oh,
I just
thanks.
wanted to say so everybody can hear me
It's a good
say
thing
it.
red's your favorite color.
Yeah, man.
If it was green, you wouldn't
All
say
right.
that. We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Pour in performance with STARTRON. STARTRON helps cure and prevent ethanol fuel problems for all engines and all seasons. Eliminate engine depleting gum, carbon, and varnish. Improve fuel economy and even rejuvenate stale fuel. STARTRON stabilizes fuel for up to 2 years so you can store your engines with confidence. Start, run, store with STARTRON.
At Florida Coast Equipment, we understand you don't work banker's hours, so neither do we. You have a business to run, you have a family to feed, and you need your machine up and running. So our service team and our parts department will be there. If that means we have to stay late, we'll do it. If we have to start early, we'll do it. is at the end of the day, you want equipment you can depend on and people you can trust, and we have a service team that will be there to service you.
Today's Power Pole tip is about the new Power Pole Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house you plug it into the wall. The Power Pole Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the Power Pole Charge, you can go to powerpole.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your Power Pole tip.
Lynn's just clapping over here, so excited. All right, our CASA VIEJA Southwest Region Captain Ronnie Houston has zeroed in on a few species this week, so let's check in with him and see what they are. Close us out, Ronnie.
Well, like always, Brie and Rick, it's always a pleasure representing the Southwest region. You know, sailfish is not common in the region, but I'll tell you what is, the mangrove snappers. And the bite has been great to the north, from Fort Myers Beach up to about Stump Pass, according to Captain Corey McGuire. Now, he's telling me you can get out to some of these wrecks, and the wrecks are all holding the mangrove snappers. The problem with that is you start bringing these mangrove snappers up, there's other predators that are generally going to get to them before you can get them up. So he's telling me you want to get in areas that have hard bottom and ledges. They have been producing better, and he's telling me those key depths have been anywhere from 60 to 80 feet. And he's simply saying using cut sardines on knocker rigs have been working well, but he's telling me the better baits have been the live shrimp, or if you're coming out the pass or along the beaches, get you some live white bait to catch some mangrove snappers. Now, you can also use some simple box chum you can pick up at your local tackle shop, and the fish are generally going to be going after small 2-0 circle hooks and using 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon. It has been working best. If the water's a little dirty, especially after this front we're expected to get this weekend, you can use 30 to 40, but if that water's really clean, you want to try to use some pink, and you want to try to use 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. And I got a prime example of some mangrove snappers that are plentiful up in Corey's neck of the woods.
Wow.
Second fish is going to be the red groupers. Now, that bite's been great all through the region, but you can concentrate your efforts right now from Wiggins Pass to Redfish Pass. Key depths are starting to work to 85 feet out to 115 foot of water, according to Captain Corey McGuire. Now, one of the important things is you want to be watching your bottom finder, and you want to be looking for them bait schools. But here's the key. He's telling me you don't want to be right in the middle of the bait schools. You want to be fishing the edges of the bait stacks corresponding to your bottom finder. He said most cut baits on the bottom should work, like sardines, herring, and squid. But if you're having trouble to get the fish to bite, it's always good to have a few pinfish on board. Drop down one of those pinfish, especially on your slower tides. The pinfish should get the job done if the cut baits ain't working. I got a prime example of a nice grouper recently caught while fishing with Captain Corey. As we go inshore, the snook. To the north, reports are this fish are starting to move out of the wintertime haunts and get on the outside edges of Charlotte Harbor, especially along the east and west wall. Now, the key has been moving water in deeper edges. On them slacker tides, it could be tough, so get in those areas where you got some good moving water. Down to the south, from Marco to Jack Daniels Key, fish have been doing the same along the outer Gulf Islands, points in the passes. Now, the best tides have actually been this week, early morning, outgoing, and the late afternoon, top of the high, being that it gets dark now about 8 o'clock. Now, to the north, the live pilchards and pinfish. South, live pilchards, top water walk the dog lures, especially the Berkeley 120 jaywalkers. Specific colors have been the pilchard and the mullet. You can also fan cast silver spoons. But then also if the fish are down a little deeper on the points of the passes, soft plastic Bass Assassin 4-inch paddle tails in white, root beer, and Houdini color. And I got a prime example of a longtime guide, Captain Derek Daffin. There's plenty of snook down there in the southern end of the region. Last species is going to be the redfish. Concentrate your efforts from Two Pines, Smokehouse, and the Matlacha area east of the bridge. Now I'm being told your deeper mangrove shorelines with shade on your higher tide. Key baits have been live pinfish, pilchards, cut ladyfish, and prime baits are the prime baits. And to the south, Jack Daniels Key to Lossman's River, especially on your lower stages of the tide, before the water gets too high, and the last half of the outgoing, so the fish are away from the mangroves. The baits in those areas have been cut mullet, ladyfish, gold spoons, soft plastic shrimp, and topwater walk-the-dog lures, especially on your lower stages. Prime examples, some nice fish being caught to the north while fishing with Captain Corey McGuire. I'd like to give a big shout out to a gentleman who's in the studio tonight. His name is Steve. We always communicate. The guy works all week, tries to get out during the week and do some fishing. I try to give him the best tips I can. In the last couple of years, he seems to be improving. And listen to what I have to say.
Ronnie, great report. So let me ask you something. You know, you think that this water's warmed up now to where the redfish and the snook are going to stay a little deeper, or you think they're going to slide up after this cold front into those little muddy bottom bays to stay warm?
Well, I think in the backcountry what's going to happen, especially with this front, as that water gets a little cooler, they are going to slide up into the muddier areas. But as the passing at the front, hopefully it's one of the last fronts we have during the year, then fish are going to slide up as the water gets warmer. They're going to be on the flats, they're going to be on the edges, and they're going to get on the points. Anywhere there was bait, they're going to be aggressive. And I see great things happen as we get into the end of April, especially in the beginning of May.
All right, Bub, great report. Thanks for batting clean up for us. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the CASA VIEJA Southwest region. Ronnie says that Tarpon, Goodland to Fort Myers Beach, fishing passes and outer beaches using live herring, pinfish, crabs, all under a cork. And then offshore, king mackerel, blackfin tunas, Wiggins Pass, the Boca Grande, fishing wrecks, and large bait schools, Bree.
All right, Rick, the reports are in, and we hope you've enjoyed sailing away with us, but hang tight just a little longer, because when we return, we're telling you what to expect next week, and it's a good one, right, Rick?
Absolutely. Here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Oh, right, I forgot. Next week, we're talking surf fishing. Woohoo!
Oh,
so
yes.
make sure you tune in.
That's your thing, Dave.
That's your thing.
Yeah, I do.
You'll be here for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, you never miss a show, so we all know that.
I'd also like to thank Gary Bartell for taking care of my
from
parents at Ozello. I owe you one, brother.
Oh, that's
he
so
did a
nice.
really nice thing for
We'll
me.
see him
You know,
scout
normally
later
we
this
would have a little shot, but because we got kids in the studio, we're not going to have it. But guess what?
We
You
put
can
a
tell
dent
we
in.
putting a dent
Thanks
in
for
this
tuning in,
tinkle.
guys. Thank you for our lovely live studio audience. It's been a great first studio audience back in the show. See you next
Very
week.
nice.
For all the deaf people.